For example, if we are choosing between two job offers, our brain will weigh the pros and cons of each offer based on factors such as salary, benefits, and commute time. The orbitofrontal cortex plays a key role in this process by integrating information from different parts of the brain and assigning values to different options. Moreover, our brain is highly influenced by emotions when making decisions. Emotions such as fear, anger, and sadness can cloud our judgment and lead to irrational choices. For example, if we are angry, we may say things we regret or make impulsive purchases to alleviate our negative feelings. Understanding the role of emotions in decision-making can help us become more aware of how our emotions can influence our choices. Furthermore, our brain can sometimes make decisions before we are consciously aware of them. For example, we may feel a sudden urge to take a certain action, such as running towards a subway car that is just pulling away, consciously considering the consequences of that action. This phenomenon is known as the feeling of an action and is thought to be mediated by the basal ganglia, a group of structures in the brain that are involved in motor control and decision-making. Finally, our brain does not make decisions in isolation, but rather interacts with our body and the environment to make choices. For example, if we are choosing between two physical activities, such as playing basketball or swimming, our body's current state, such as our energy level and physical abilities, will influence our decision. Additionally, external factors such as the weather and availability of equipment can also affect our choices. In conclusion, the neuroscience of decision-making reveals a complex and fascinating process that involves multiple regions of the brain, neurotransmitters, and a constant evaluation of internal and external factors. By understanding the factors that influence our choices, we can become more aware of the complexities of decision-making and the multiple factors that influence our choices. We can also develop strategies to improve our decision-making skills, such as by using decision-making frameworks, seeking out diverse perspectives, and being aware of our own biases. By doing so, we can make better decisions in various aspects of our lives, from personal relationships to career choices to public policy decisions. So have you learned something new? Do you have any ideas to share? Let us know in the comments below. Please share this video with others. If you enjoyed this video, please support us. Also, tell us what you would like to learn next. Don't forget to subscribe for future updates. Thanks for watching. Welcome to my YouTube channel, General Mind. Today our topic is the neuroscience of decision-making. Why we choose if you are new here. Please subscribe to get notified when we publish new videos. Hit the bell icon for that. If you enjoy this video, consider supporting us through the provided means. Hey everyone, welcome back. So have you ever found yourself torn between two decisions, and you think to yourself, why I choose this option over the other? Why do we always find ourselves stuck in such situations? Well, neuroscientists have come up with some very interesting findings about decision-making and choices. So let's explore together the neuroscience of decision-making, why we choose what we choose. So first off, let's begin with a real-life example. Imagine you are standing in front of your fridge trying to decide what to eat. You open the door and stare into the abyss of available options, feeling overwhelmed and unable to decide. After a few moments of contemplation, you finally settle for the leftovers from last night's dinner. But why did you choose that particular meal over the many other alternatives in your fridge? What made you pick that specific dish? Now consider another scenario. You're at a grocery store trying to select an apple. You pick one up and inspect it closely, examining its color, shape, and texture. You put it down and reach for another apple further down the shelf. But then you stop and pick up the first apple again, torn between the two. What makes you keep going back to the first apple? These examples may seem trivial, but they illustrate a fundamental aspect of decision-making. We do, and always choose the best or most optimal option. Instead, our choices are often influenced by a complex interplay of factors that can be difficult to predict. So now let us take a deeper dive into the neuroscience of decision-making and understand why we choose what we choose. Our choices are driven by a combination of internal and external factors. Internal factors include our needs, desires, and preferences, while external factors include the environment, social pressure, and available options. For example, if you're hungry, you're more likely to choose a meal over a toy, whereas if you're thirsty, you're more likely to choose a drink over a book. Similarly, if your friends are all buying ice cream, you're more likely to choose an ice cream flavor over a salad. Our brain processes all these factors through a complex network of neurons and neurotransmitters. Neurons are specialized cells that transmit information throughout the body via electrical and chemical signals. When we perceive a stimulus, such as the smell of freshly baked cookies, a group of neurons in our olfactory bulb becomes activated. These neurons then send signals to other parts of the brain, such as the orbitofrontal cortex, which is involved in decision-making and reward processing. The orbitofrontal cortex then uses these signals to make a decision. In this case, whether to go to the kitchen and grab a cookie. Neurotransmitters are chemicals that facilitate communication between neurons. Different neurotransmitters have different effects on our brain. For example, dopamine is a neurotransmitter that plays a key role in the reward system of the brain. When we experience pleasure, such as eating a delicious meal, our brain releases dopamine, which reinforces the behavior that led to that pleasure. In the case of eating a cookie, the release of dopamine reinforces the decision to go to the kitchen and grab the cookie. The interplay of neurons and neurotransmitters is a highly complex process that is influenced by a variety of factors, including our genetics, life experiences, and current emotional state. For example, if we have a genetic predisposition towards addiction, we may be more likely to develop a habit around eating cookies because our brains may process the reward of eating the cookies more intensely than someone without that genetic predisposition. Similarly, if we have a history of emotional trauma, we may be more likely to use food as a coping mechanism, leading to more frequent choices around unhealthy foods like cookies. Understanding the neuroscience of decision making can help us appreciate the complexity of the process and the multiple factors that influence our choices. It also highlights the importance of considering both internal and external factors when trying to influence other people's choices. Neuroscience has revealed several key insights into how our brain makes decisions. One of the most important is that our brain does not always make rational decisions. Instead, our brain uses mental shortcuts or heuristics to simplify complex decisions. For example, we may choose a familiar brand of cereal over a new brand, even if the new brand is cheaper or healthier, because we are more familiar with the old brand. This tendency to stick with what is familiar is known as the status quo bias. Another important insight is that our brain is constantly evaluating options based on their potential rewards and risks. For example, if we are choosing between two job offers, our brain will weigh the pros and cons of each offer based on factors such as salary, benefits, and commute time. The orbitofrontal cortex plays a key role in this process by integrating information from different parts of the brain and assigning values to different options. Moreover, our brain is highly influenced by emotions when making decisions. Emotions such as fear, anger, and sadness can cloud our judgment and lead to irrational choices. For example, if we are angry, we may say things we regret or make impulsive purchases to alleviate our negative feelings. Understanding the role of emotions in decision-making can help us become more aware of how our emotions can influence our choices. Furthermore, our brain can sometimes make decisions before we are consciously aware of them. For example, we may feel a sudden urge to take a certain action, such as running towards a subway car that is just pulling away, consciously considering the consequences of that action. This phenomenon is known